ever. It's harder than working with the adults, and it's harder than working with the teenagers. What's up, friends? Welcome back to KimmyDTV, a place where nurses and aspiring nurses come to achieve academic, career, and life success. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how it's like to work in a psychiatric unit where it's kid focused, meaning ages 6 to 12, okay? So without further ado, here we go. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Okay guys, so you guys know that from my previous psych nursing videos, I have some vlogs, I talk about working on the adolescent teenage girls unit and stuff like that, but I never talked about working on the kids unit. So in my first travel psych nurse assignment, I had the opportunity to work with the kids for the first time in my life, and I thought it wasn't going to be too bad because I worked as a pediatric nurse as an LPN. Boy, was I wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys the real on how it is and like basically some tips so that when you go into it, at least you're not going into it in the dark, because nobody told me about anything about working with the kids, but I'll tell you guys how it is. All right, so I worked in a facility where I worked with all age groups, but they primarily put me on the kids unit. I can honestly say that working with the kids in psych is the hardest thing ever. It's harder than working with the adults, and it's harder than working with the teenagers. I thought nothing could be harder than working with teenage girls, but working with the kids is hard. And I feel like it's because, I mean, I think sometimes they could be in the tie, but it's no, never mind. Working with the kids is extremely hard because I feel like it's combined with the fact that their brains are not developed, so that, you know, their brains are not as fully developed, of course, because they're a kid, mixed with mental illness, or sometimes unfortunately life events that cause mental illness. Combine that together and it is, oh my gosh, it's so chaotic, and with a whole bunch of patients in there, whew, it was I think it was one of the hardest assignments I've ever took, because the kids were very, 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 very hard, to be honest with you. Okay, so basically that's how it is, like in the kids unit. Like sometimes every blue moon, especially in the summertime when, you know, most of them are on vacation or whatever, the kids unit is not so bad. But 9 times out of 10, like especially during school time, you know, they have a lot of stresses from school and stuff like that. Like the kids unit could get very, very hectic. Like it can be very, very stressful, like to the point where some nurses even quit because they said they didn't want to work in the kids unit. Don't put me there, don't put me there. Everybody said don't put me there, and they kept putting them in there and they just quit. Okay, so not to scare you, but like working in the kids unit is very hard. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you guys some tips if you guys are placed on the kids unit as a psychiatric nurse, things to do. Okay, so the number one thing like is during report, you're gonna obviously want to find out like who are the patients that give you the most issues. You're gonna want to start that. Okay, you're gonna want to start that so that you know what to watch out for. Okay, honestly, the number one thing is safety. So the number one thing is give medications ASAP, as soon as possible. You want their prescribed medications to be running through their bloodstream as soon as possible, because if you don't want any liability. Okay, yes, your MHTs have to help you and everything, but I kind of treat it like driving, right? Like, you know how they always say, you know, you drive for everyone else, like you work for anyone else. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot be 15 million places at one time. I'm not the kind of nurse that, I've never been that kind of nurse. Even when I was at LPN working with my CNAs, as an RN working with my MHTs, I don't micromanage people because I'm too busy tending to my patients. I'm sorry, I'm just not that type of person that micromanage, like looking behind you like, oh, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? I'm just gonna assume that, well, it depends on who you're working with. I'm just gonna assume that, I don't want to say I'm gonna assume I'm on my own, but I'm just gonna assume that it's up to me, because it really is up to you, because you are the charge nurse. So the first thing I do is I give my medications, and it makes my MHT's life easier too. But Because if there is a fight, or if there's anything that goes on and that could have been prevented by you giving them the medication to help balance their brain, etc., calm them down, balance their mood, why not give it? You know what I mean? So first things first is make sure you prioritize giving your medications. I see some nurses dilly-dally, talk to other nurses. Yeah, talk after the patients get their medications ASAP. That brings to another point, consent. Consent is very, very important, guys. There are so many people who want to sue. We just went through a health crisis. There are people who want money, and there are people who are not afraid to go after your license. So I'm just being completely honest. When you're working with the kids especially, make sure you have those consents. I don't care if it's for a multivitamin. Make sure you have those consents. Check, don't just, so that's what I said. Just when I say give your medications, don't just run, don't just jump and give your medications. It is so imperative, guys, that you make sure they have consents. If they are Spanish speaking, or if they speak another language, usually there's an appointed translator that you can call to get consent. Or sometimes people say, oh, you could use someone who works in the facility, but that is a big risk, because they could say, oh no, they didn't translate right. But if you use an appointed translator, a hired translator, that parent can't say anything. So make sure you get consent from your parents. Remember, parents are ready to sue. I'm telling you, like, they will sue for a multivitamin and stuff like that. And hey, and let me give you a disclaimer, I'm not saying that parents don't have the right to be concerned or anything like that. I mean, that's their baby that's in the hospital, so hey, I'm not knocking that at all. But I'm just saying, as nurses, make sure you have those consents, because I know there are some nurses who will quickly just give medication like, no. And what if the kid has an allergic reaction that only the parent knows about, right? Another thing is to make sure safety. Wash them during shower time, everything. That's when things can go down. And I don't want to go into specifics, so y'all can just put 2 and 2 together. I mean, kids these days, so you're going to have to watch them, okay? You don't want any assaults going on, so make sure you watch them, okay? Be one with your MHTs. If you guys are all together, you can make the shift go good, okay? So make sure that if the group is very rowdy, you separate them. You separate, like, if I realize that the group is very rowdy, for example, I would say, okay, I would convene with my MHT and say, okay, have half of them stay in the day room, half of them stay in the group room. Let's keep them separated because they're wilding out today. Giving IMs, make sure you have proper documentation for IM. Proper documentation for seclusion and restriction is usually every 5 minutes. Okay, even for emergency medications, make sure your documentations are on point. With kids, it's not a joke. Anything's not a joke, but with kids, not a joke. Make sure you document. And lastly, I'm gonna cap off with this. Working with kids is an extreme big liability. So document and watch yourselves. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. If y'all have any more questions on working with the kids, let me know down below. Bye.